Hi, everybody. Todd Nash, Senate District 29. Um, it was a busy week this week. We started out on Monday and we had several different things happen all at 8 o'clock in the morning. Had three education bills. I talked to you about them a little bit last week, 784, 85, and 86. And those were all put forth. They were in a stack of bills that Senator Hansel had, and they were really the brainchild of Jake Pelroy, who is my chief of staff. Jake was able to represent those because I was called away to a different committee. Um, During that time also, we had Agri-Stress Helpline had its work session and it passed out. So that'll go on to Ways and Means now, and we think we have really positive flow on that. And I'm really confident that we're going to get that $2 million to be able to fund that program of perpetuity. Thanks to Allison Myers for all her good work on that. Thanks for the private donors that had donated thus far to get the helpline up and running. It's been an incredible amount of work that's been done there. The helpline is being utilized, and I know a lot of you out there have helped to promote it as well. The Union County Fairgrounds, its first hearing took place over in the House side, and I wanted to get over to that, but it didn't make it to that either. But I heard that it had a really positive hearing. That also gets sent on to Ways and Means for that $2.5 million funding so that they can get their sewer and water up and running. And I guess I want you to know too that Union County Fairgrounds isn't only looking to the state for funding. They have set aside a tremendous amount of money to help with that program as well there. So when that funding stream comes through, we'll all have a big celebration over there, and that'll be great to have that accomplished. And I think we're going to see that done this year. We've highlighted fairgrounds a lot this year, the resiliency hubs that they are. When we have things like fires, other emergencies, those become the places where we evacuate our livestock to. We can set up shelter for people as well. And without those basic functions, our fairgrounds are less desirable. And so congratulations to those guys that all showed up and did the hard work there, and we'll get that accomplished. Senate Bill 777, that was heard on Tuesday again. We had a -5 amendment, and so that means we had 5 amendments over time from the original bill, made some compromises there. We eventually have gotten to a spot here where it looks like everybody can agree on. Well, not everybody. The environmental community continues to show up in opposition to refunding ranchers for the devastating losses that they have from wolves on their livestock. Pretty perplexing to me that somebody would do that. You never see them here for anything else, but when this comes up, they are the most fiscally conservative groups in Oregon when it comes to giving money to ranchers. And I hope that we get this passed out. We were supposed to have a work session, or we had a tentative work session on it last Tuesday. Ended up not taking the vote. It's passed on to this coming Tuesday, and we'll have a work session on it then, and we'll get an up or down vote. And I think we have really positive momentum. The environmental groups have been bombarding those that have signed onto the bill to ask them to take their names off, to ask that they do not vote for it when it comes to the floor, to not pass it out of committee. But I think we're going to get this done. I think we're going to get a better compensation program than what we've had, and we've told our story really well. And we look forward to the next phase of that. The Indian Healthcare Exchange bill, that was heard this week as well. We think that that has really positive momentum. The air ambulance reimbursement, we talked about a little bit last week. We rely on those in these remote areas of Oregon, and keeping those services healthy, making sure that they're fully reimbursed so that they can stay in business, so that when we need them in those remote areas to life flight us out to places, to get us a helicopter in remote canyons and backlands. Um, it's going to continue to be a service that we need to save lives, and so I think that that has got really positive traction as well. The brand fee program, and so livestock brands with cattle, we've had quite a lot of discussion over that, and I want to thank everybody that's been patient with me through that. It's been tough and trying. We have a work session scheduled for the 25th, and so Senate Bill 1019 is going to look wildly different than the first iteration did. Um, really appreciate Oregon Department of Agriculture and their patience with me working through these processes. There's going to be some things that are going to come out of this in the next couple of years that I think are going to be very beneficial to the industry. We're going to be able to address some of the increased fees that we've seen over time, and we're going to put a work group together, be facilitated by the Legislative Fiscal Office here. We're going to be looking at other state programs and get that work group together to see really what works best in Oregon in the long haul. I think that, like I say, there's going to be some really positive changes come from that. I look forward to seeing the product that is built out of that. Senate Bill 976, and that was the equine dentistry and preg check bill. And we have many people out in the country that do preg check for people and are quite good at it. And technology has changed over time. Ultrasound machines have become affordable. Uh, Getting trained on those things, it's kind of a dual function of veterinarians that have done that over time, and now we're seeing a lack of veterinarians that are around the state that specialize in large animal husbandry, especially. And so there becomes more of a need for it. This bill was presented to us by Farm Bureau. Oregon Cattlemen's recently signed on to it, support it. We've gotten some pushback from some veterinarians, and there's been positive response from others. The equine dentistry, a little more controversial, but we put in amendments to this bill to address some of those concerns, making sure that there's adequate training and an adequate response. And both of these was one of the things that we heard and tried to address in those amendments. So that'll have a work session on the 25th as well in the same hearing, and look forward to that. There is a record number of natural resource bills. I talked to the governor's office this morning, and there is a flood of water bills coming, and I couldn't resist that, but it's concerning. Some of those bills are highly complex, some of them having to do with surface water, some of them having to do with groundwater, places of diversion. The list goes on and on and on about some of the restrictions, and we hope that we can keep agriculture in a positive spot here without doing damage. And that's going to be my focus. If we can get ourselves to a better spot, I'm going to try to do that as well. We have to do things in a responsible manner that don't contaminate, don't devaluate some of those streams and reaches that fisheries are needing, but we can't be doing more damage to agriculture much of my district in Senate District 29 is operating in the red right now. Commodity prices are dismal in much of Oregon, and it's been a tough year. We don't need to build more angst into this, and so I want to keep a close eye on this, and I'm going to rely on a lot of you guys as well as these bills come forward to keep a close eye out, keep me alerted, and we'll do our very best down here too. We have some great partners. I have been placed as the Republican um, member of the Water Caucus here, and so the Water Caucus is made up of a large number of both Senate and Republicans, Democrat and Republican. They have Representative um, Owens is on the House side, and Helm, and so they have a Republican and a Democrat on the House side, Senator Taylor and I on the Senate side. And so we do keep a keener eye on some of those things that are coming and can suggest packages coming forward. And so I really appreciate the fact that Representative Helm said that nothing is going to come forward from his office without bipartisan support. And so that's a rare opportunity for us to weigh in and lean in on these things and make sure that we do the responsible thing for all of Oregon and don't do more damage to agriculture. Senate Bill 769, the Cougar Bill, and the ability to pursue cougars with hounds. And that's had a wall. That bill in its current form or any other form is not going to go forward, and I apologize for that. It's a bill I introduced, and there was more response from that than any other bill in the building this far. The 836 of you that wrote in on testimony on OLAs, those that showed up to testify, you did a fantastic job. And you did make a difference at the end of the day. There is going to be a response out of this, and you gave me and others leverage to do something maybe a little more creative. There's more to come on that, but it won't be in the form of a bill, and I wish it was. I wish we could solidify this in law and recognize democracy and allow those counties the decision on whether they wanted to control their cougar population with hound dogs, put it back in the authority of the agency that manages wildlife so that they could sufficiently manage those predator populations. It didn't work this time. Doesn't mean it's not going to work into the future. We got to keep going and trying to do what's best for a mule deer population, for the recruitment of calves and elk populations, and what's best for all of us out there and in the hinterlands. I've said it before, but what we're up against here a lot of times, if you take Senate District 30 and Senate District 29, it is 60% of the land mass, not just in Eastern Oregon, but of all of Oregon. 60% of the land mass, and there's two of us here that represent that. The other 28, some are Republicans, but my district reaches clear down here to Marion County, takes in a portion of Marion County, where Salem is, clear back to the Snake River, bordering Idaho. A huge district. My neighbor here in the next office over, his district is 4 miles long. We have completely different life experiences, but educating, keep talking about these things. It's important, and we got to keep going. We got to try to get something for a better tomorrow. Humane Society of the U.S. weighed in on the cougar situation there at the very end, and I listened or read their toughly worded letter, and they said they were against hound dogs killing cougars. They don't even understand the mechanism of how um, hound dogs pursue cougars, put them up a tree, and they assumed that hound dogs were actually doing the killing of the cougars, and they were against that. Um, anyway, it's it's a funny place that we live here. Um, Last thing I'll finish up here, we had a great hearing with a lumber inspection where you could self-inspect lumber for small sawmills, and that got some resistance from some of the large national organizations, wood preservers, some of those inspection agencies. They have killed these bills when they've popped up all over the West for the last several years. It's a really small ask, and we're asking for a self-inspection from small sawmill operators that go through a training, working together with their building codes officer, and then selling lumber directly to the person who would be occupying a house. And we think this is a real small, real simple ask. Surprised at the resistance it gets. It's been highly successful in Wisconsin and in Tennessee for the last 15, 20 years. But we haven't been able to get it here in Oregon. We have some positive momentum here and hope to get that across the finish line. With that, I'm going to wrap this up. It is Pi Day 314, and I hope you enjoy this day. We look forward to seeing you when I get back out in the district again. I'm going to stay this weekend in Salem, and thank you all for what you do and the encouragement, the prayers. I need them down here. Yeah, we'll talk to you later. Bye.